Where are you? Welcome to the vlog. And boy, have I got a lot to tell you about. Let me go in and get sorted first. Right. Where do I begin? So, I'm just on the way to the gym. I've got Jen's PT.
People get really obsessed with it. So
And then I'm going to train. I've discovered my new favourite podcast. It's called Law of Attraction Changed My Life, and it's by Francesca Amber. Am I making that up? That's nice. And it's so good. Anyway, so yeah, it is now Wednesday. Yesterday, I know I said I was going to speak to you when I had got home, but I ended up, I was exhausted and I was also going out for dinner. So, no, did I speak to you when I got back from dinner? I think that's when I did. I can't remember. So it was a full-on day yesterday. Mum and I had travelled over to St Andrews on Monday night because I had booked us in. Oh my god. Why are you going down the way? What's going on? And why is this roasting? Oh god, because I've got the heating up. Hold on. Hold your horses. Right. Oh my god, there's excellent parking going on here. Excellent parking. Yeah, travelled over to St Andrews to stay overnight because I had... Don't gimbal protection, mate. I just want to tell you my story. I had my ADHD assessment yesterday and it was booked for 10 o'clock, and I thought there is no way that I'll be able to get up like early in the morning. I didn't want the stress of having to travel like during rush hour, blah blah blah. So I'm very glad that I booked the hotel. Anyway, in the notes it said, you know, the first part can take between 2 to 3 hours, and then the part that involves like a parent usually takes about 45 minutes. So there was me thinking we'd be done about 1 o'clock. No, 5 hours later we eventually left. I think we left St Andrews, I want to say about 3:30, because I had to stop and get petrol, and I had all these grand plans about like going for lunch and whatever, but obviously because I was going out for my dinner I wanted to get back, but I was absolutely starving because I didn't take anything with me. I only had a banana that I'd taken from the breakfast buffet. So I was starving, hadn't had coffee, so you can imagine what I was like. But yeah, it was like, the psychologist was lovely, so it's like a 2-part process. Yesterday was with a psychologist, and then the first part of it, which took like 2 hours, was her basically just kind of asking me questions about my background, growing up, what it was like, blah blah blah. Then we had a very quick break, and then Mum come in, and it was just kind of asking different questions relating to both the attentive side of ADHD and then the like hyperactive side. And then after that, Mum left and we just did a kind of 10-minute like evaluation, and it's not been confirmed yet, but she reckons that I have met the threshold for ADHD, but she also thinks that there is autism there. And because what she said was the fact that if it was just ADHD, then there would have been more signs in childhood, whereas if it's autism as well, the autism masks the ADHD in childhood. So that's like basically classic me, like the teacher's pet, the people pleasing, the perfectionist, the doesn't like change, etc, etc. And then it's almost like it flips in adulthood. And because she said, so initially she actually thought, when I told her about like when I had broken up with my ex in 2019, and then I had moved back in with my mum and dad, all that was going on, and then I got my own flat 2 years later. Initially she thought it might have been like a kind of emotional trauma thing, but she says that the fact that because mum said that she started noticing things more round about like lockdown time. So the psychologist said that the fact that the symptoms and things are still apparent 7 years later would suggest that there is something there. And the fact that I've went from living with someone, so like when I was growing up and obviously living with my mum and dad, I had that structure there. Then obviously I moved in with him, had that structure again, moved out back in with mum and dad, had that, and then it's been when I've been living myself and obviously being self-employed as well, like I don't have a boss. But even mum said, she was like, you could never have a boss anyway, you'd be a terrible employee. And I was like, tell me about it, I have said this all along. The ADHDness is doing its thing. But when she said to me about the autism, she says, like, what are you thinking? And I said, I am surprised, because if I'm honest, when I think of autism, it is that stereotype of like Rain Man, like someone that's highly intelligent, struggles with eye contact, so on and so forth. And I'll be honest, I don't really know much about autism, I just don't know, I guess, the stereotypes. But I said I'm also not surprised, because my dad's brother John has got Asperger's, and I've always said, like, basically my whole side of my dad's family, including my dad, are definitely on the spectrum somewhere or another. So the fact that I could be doesn't surprise me in that sense. But I guess I never thought, that sounds not horrible to say, but I never thought it would be someone like me. But it also does explain a lot. So basically next steps are, she is going to go away and have to, because she was like, I have a lot to think about. She's going to go away and evaluate and put everything together, and then she says she might need to hash some of this stuff out with like some of her colleagues. And then the next step is I have an hour like Zoom call with a psychiatrist this time, and it will be them that tell me basically the outcome. And I don't know, this might sound really weird to say, right, but I am actually, part of me is hoping that it's like, what is it they call it, AUHD, like autism and ADHD combined, because it would explain a lot. Like, even earlier on today, I just had a meltdown for absolutely no reason whatsoever. Well, I was highly inconvenienced because I ended up having to phone the bank, because one of my, again, they had mucked things up, and I ended up spending nearly an hour on the phone. A good chunk of that was on hold. But I can't handle when things happen that I haven't accounted for, or I haven't allowed for, rather. And I used to blame it on like my hormones, my periods, blah blah blah. But if I'm wired differently in my brain, then maybe that's why. But I don't know. So I keep checking my emails like every 5 minutes, because I'm desperate to hear back. But I did have to laugh, because she kept talking about me being highly intelligent. And I'm like, would we really say that? But she seemed to think I'm highly intelligent. And then when I met Billy down the stairs, he'd been looking after the boys for me, my cats. He's so nosy. He was like, so what were you doing? So I told him. And then he went, I have to admit, when you first moved in and before I got to know you, and you were always doing something, you were always like, you were doing your bodybuilding, you were going out walking, you were doing your skincare, you were whipping up skincare while walking on a walking pad. I wasn't actually, but he did say that. I think he was trying to illustrate the fact that I'm always on the go and I'm always doing something. He was like, I did kind of wonder. So, and he has absolutely he said himself, he has absolutely no problem relaxing and doing nothing, whereas I can't. That's the update. As the psychologist called me, I am neurospicy of some sort. I was thinking about changing that in my my YouTube handle. Melanie Neurospicy Beline. Obviously with autism you can't treat it. It's just that's more leaning towards the like behavioural side of things. But obviously ADHD you can try different kind of medication. So but what I found wild was, I remember when I was booking this assessment on the website, like you could get a combined autism and ADHD assessment, and it was double, if not more, than just the ADHD assessment. So I said to Fiona, the psychologist, I was like, what happens after this then? Like, if you think it's autism, will I need to then get like a different assessment? And she went, no, because like that's really only because you can't treat autism. These kind of assessments are only really to confirm like one way or another. And I thought that was wild. So basically I have got, if I am diagnosed as autistic, I've basically got that other assessment for free, if you get what I mean. Because she said she wasn't, because we were specifically meant to be focusing on ADHD, she wasn't asking me like autism specific questions or things like that. But she was like, there was too many things coming up when you were talking, and you were talking about your childhood and your behaviours and whatever, that were pointing towards autism. So there we are. Good morning. It is Friday and I feel like I've been up for forever. I got up at 7 because I was running mum and dad to train station because they're away to London today, and I was very proud of myself because not only did I arrive on time at mum and dad's, I was there before dad was ready. So I dropped my car off at the garage because the light come on again, and I'm in that kind of awkward hanging about phase. But mum, or rather dad, managed to dig out some of my old school reports because Fiona, who did my ADHD assessment, had asked if I could send over proof, or like just things like school reports. The teachers put in me is loving this, I'm not gonna lie. So I don't know why we've only got the second year one from January 2002. How old does this make me feel? But so you have like a report from every teacher, and then at the end you've got like your guidance teacher overview, and I'm even just reading it now, I'm like I was laughing at the, where is it, PE, physical education, So bearing in mind, like everyone else has got like they've filled out this box quite fully. In my PE one, Melanie is very willing and tries always to do her best. And that was it. So funnily enough, and quite confusingly, I remember at that time level E was the best. So in investigating and developing fitness, I got a level E. Maybe that speaks to the fact that I now do bodybuilding and whatnot. Using the body and applying in athletics, applying skills in badminton, I got D. Creating and designing in gymnastics, a C. Next steps: maintain your effort and enthusiasm for the subject and be willing to continue to work hard. But yeah, I loved my English report, so I had a teacher called Mrs. Greengrass, who actually a couple of years ago messaged me on Facebook and was like, I don't know if you remember me, but it's just so great to see you doing so well. And I'm like, how can I forget you? But strengths, are you ready? Melanie's work has been outstanding in S2 and she's progressed significantly in talk. She attained at level F in both reading and writing at national tests. A mature and talented student, I'm sorry to lose her from my class. Next steps: to maintain present levels of effort and read suitably challenging material which will further develop her reading and writing skills. ICT, knowledge and understanding, moving beyond level E, and using information technology, moving beyond E. Melanie listens to instructions and settles down to work quickly, does her work in a mature manner. Right. I say scan, I'm going to take photos of them on my phone and upload them to my Google Drive. And then just send her the link. Oh, home economics, Mrs. Morton. A cheerful, very willing girl who's a joy to have in the class. That's me. Can we talk about in maths as well? Bear in mind it's levels A to E, and in number, money and measure and information handling I got 2 Fs. Mrs. Wilson, I love Mrs. Wilson. So for history, this is my Aunt Karen. Melanie is a very able, conscientious pupil who has produced work of the highest quality well beyond level E. Her extended responses indicate great promise for the future. These are my volunteer awards. So I've got 50, 100 and 200 for when I used to work or volunteer at a hospital radio. Perfect attendance award. Oh my god. And then here we have, I've passed my progressive riding test at Dean Castle Riding Centre. Hello. It is Monday evening and guess who forgot to close the vlog off? It is 9:45 and I am just about to have something to eat. And ironically, my post-workout, I stopped training at like 6:30 and I'm going to have that, go for a shower and try and switch off because my anxiety slash fight or flight slash everything else has been through the roof recently. It's got to the stage I catch myself holding my breath, which again apparently is linked to your nervous system and stuff. So we don't want that. Anyway, thank you for watching. Sorry I look so haggard and delightful. And please stick around. Please, subscribe if you haven't already. If you enjoy the realness of being here. And we will see you in the next one.